Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are around the world watching live here for the 24 hours of sport. It is the GT Endurance Cup in Europe, and we're in the heart of the Ardennes Forest of Belgium for the Spa-Francorchamps 24-hour race. The GT3s will be roaring around the circuit very soon, and to start off and kick off the show, who better than the dynamic duo of me, Matthew Duffin, and my partner in crime, Tristan Herbst. Tristan, welcome.
It's incredible to be back at Spa with you here, Matthew. I think we've done this track a collective of 3 times in the past 4 weeks. So, we should be pretty fresh on our feet to take the GT3s around here yet again. But as Matthew said, we're going to have quite a large scale of commentators and broadcasters joining you for today's event. Well, I can't necessarily say today's event. I guess it's the weekend's event because this runs for a big 24 hours around the circuit of Spa-Francorchamps. And can't lie to you, very, very excited to see what we've got in store. It is a only GT3 class race, but obviously 3 divisions that are going to be taking it to the track, which is going to be incredible to watch. But Matthew, I think we are about to head into qualifying ever so shortly. It's just great to be back here for the full 24-hour.
Yeah, it is the race that we could get the results for you. We was hurrying into the commentary box and missed the end of qualifying, so we'll get that grid order to you momentarily. But 51 cars on the grid, a total of pros, pro-ams and ams out there on the grid, as we can take a look at the qualifying order for you now for the start of this race. Pin number 1 then, Gabriele Rossone is for Team Racing Point on pole position. The number 19 car takes pole with a 2:17.7, 3 tenths quicker than Michael Fry from the Project 91 racing team, and I recognise that name. So Michael, if it is the same one, good afternoon to you and best of luck. Aliso De Pio is P3 for Team Racing Point, with Andre Rocha for Rosso Esports P4. P5 is that of Carlos Coxinho for Ronin PT, and then Thiago Mello for Bravo Snow P6. P7 is that of Sikorsky for Project 91 racing team in the pro category. Douglas Souza for Delta Racing, with then Daniel Scherzdker in the Impact Sim Sport P9. Davide De Marco for Velch Competitions is your leading Pro-Am car in P10. Then it will be that of the Pro-Am second place runner Thomas Solars in P11. The Ampole sitter of Pascal Eckhart here for Just For Speed, lining up P12, so good qualifying from the Am. P13 is Lucas Abreu from Nicholas Gowen in 14th place. John Jevicki is 15th from Len Eisenhuth in P16. Simone Garotti is 17th place from Andre Paletti.
At 19th down, still on our massive grid, Donato Ramos for the Ronin PT team. He gets himself there into the 19th slot. Ryan Cromwell, sitting in the Gamma Sim Racing team, the number 137, has gotten his car into the top 20 spots for the Pro Division. Christopher Starsmore in the AM class as well, into 21st, just about 1.3 seconds off of the leaders. Joseph Akopian in 22nd, the number 7. 007 coming into strike from the back end. And Michael Teichmann in 23rd position, a little bit further for the Summit Esports team, but also still a long way to go for our inaugural large grid. Nico Loikinen a little bit further as well for Drive Lounge by PBM, and he sits in at 24th. Tristan Engelstad in the Quadash Racing team, currently 25th with that 219.2. Benjamin Fisher sitting 26th with the number 44, and then Andre Haler in the 444. Just a bit further down in 27th position. Enzo de Moraes Billet a bit further as well, 28th position. The number 120 car will start roughly mid-pack with a couple of other cars surrounding him. Enzo Alquini in 29th for the Delta Racing team. And then Karl Parvainen, I believe, with Rusty Spatulas in 30th position. 31st is Joachim Svensson in the nearly on pace. Well, I mean, he's done pretty good for pace. 31st, that's roughly, again, in the middle, about 1.6 off the leaders, with Matteo Pina Nosai in 32nd, number 823, sitting it nicely, also roughly in the middle. Ronnie Richter, the number 46, apologies, in 33rd position. And then he's got Lucas Huberger just a bit further behind with 34th position, for number 309 with a 219.4. And then we've got Jesus Saez Colado. He's the number 967, also in the AM class, down 35th. And then Gareth McAllister in 36th position.
We have 37th for Aaron Bell. He lines up alongside that of Jesse Deshazer in P38. Marco Di Costanzo is P39 from 40th place. Rob Johnson, 41st of Paolo Calvo, alongside Connor Botting for the Paul Botting Motorsport team. P43 for Jonathan Perry, alongside car number 2, that of the Vortex car of Vic Decladet, in the number 2 machine in 44th. Elia Mitchell in P45 from Ryan Steinhoff in 46th. Curtis Triber in 47th. Kirk Heath then for turn 1 in P48. And to round out your grid, Vinicius Santos, P49. Timothy Johnston, P50. And Fernando Neto rounding out the back of the grid. We do have 2 pace laps, we do have the 1 and a bit pace laps. This is the bit of the pace lap where the cars have been placed onto our virtual grid, as they will go through to then do the full formation lap before taking to that green flag and heading towards probably one of the world's most iconic corners of Eau Rouge and Radion, with 51 cars on the grid. Should make for an interesting lap number 1 here, Tristan.
I think our entire first sector, from La Source all the way up to Eau Rouge and then the Kemmel Straight, is going to be quite interesting with the GT3s on track at the moment, especially with the 3-class split that we've obviously got running. And like we mentioned, 51 cars on track. I mean, we've seen it before as well with roughly the same number, and it really does provide a lot of entertainment around the circuit and just a lot of fighting as well. So there's going to be a lot of opportunity, especially in the beginning here, for these drivers to find some possible positions around track. But for the time being, we obviously do still have 1 more pace lap coming to you before we get started. It is a long time ahead of our drivers as well for any spectators who are going to be pinpointing a specific car and watching them for the entirety of this race. 24 hours, which is quite a lot of laps around the 7.5 kilometer circuit of Spa-Francorchamps. But for the time being, it's all about tire warm-up and keeping those nerves under control. The brake dragging will be the number 1 strategy to try and get those tires nicely warmed up on the inside. But in terms of nerves, each driver has got their own thing to try and keep themselves calm. Some, maybe someone sings to themselves. Others will obviously just try and keep pointed forwards and just obviously calm the mind down, because 24 hours, and especially coming from personal experience, when you are starting the stint for your team in an endurance, you've got a lot of pressure on you to perform and make sure that you keep your car placed where it qualified as well.
Indeed, and as you come past them through La Source, I saw a number of cars in the pit lane taking obviously the option to take the pit lane start. Not necessarily the worst thing in the world here at Spa, and it's not going to be the worst thing in a 24-hour event as well, because plenty of time to make up the ground lost from starting is going to be absolutely phenomenal in this race. You're not going to want to miss any of the opening action here within that first hour of this race. It will be absolutely extraordinary. And Spa is one of them circuits, Tristan, that we look at, and we can see that there are places where it is easy to overtake, but also very, very difficult at times. We've seen it, as you said at the top of the programme. We've done Spa several times over the last few weeks, if not months. It can be a tricky place to overtake, especially with a bunched up grid like this one.
Yeah, exactly. There's obviously a couple of corners that are going to be your prime spots for overtaking, especially the entrances to a straight is going to it's where you're going to try and build up speed on a potential driver in front, using the slipstream, using a little bit of that dirty air to block away the drag, and then hopefully try and make an overtake. But there are a couple of very technical corners, and it's why Spa makes for such a good endurance circuit, especially for the long duration of 24 hours, which currently standing is the longest duration possible with endurance racing. You don't really see anything more, even on a track like De La South or even Nordschleife. 24 hours is your standard cap that we have for endurance racing, but Spa really does excel with providing as much entertainment and also entertainment for our drivers out on track due to the technicality of the circuit. There's a lot of straights for you to have a little bit of a breather, maybe grab something to drink, and obviously plan out some pit strategies. But then as soon as you get chucked into that Sector 2 and Sector 3, Matthew, we go out of the Kemmel Straight, and there is a lot of repeated technical corners. There's obviously Pith Path, and then it goes into Pouon, and then obviously Sector 3, which is, again, which we're currently going through now, a very strenuous, I would say, sector where if you aren't on your marks, you could potentially find yourself in gravel traps, jumping a little bit too much of curbing, and I mean, especially in the rain as well, which we're hoping not to see in this 24-hour event, but obviously anything can happen. Curbing as well in the rain can get a little bit tricky and dicey in a GT3 car, so all those kind of strategies need to be marked out by our drivers in a longer race. Endurance racing is very different to sprint racing, and it's great to see it for the 24-hour of Spa that our drivers are indeed prepared, as we've had a lot of time to practice And now eventually we will get onto the starting blocks for a rolling start to get the 24-hour underway.
Hopefully so. I've just seen a message in our broadcast booth that says that there is apparently 5 formation laps. So we hope to get ready. We're unsure. We're unsure if this is the start of the race. The message that we've received from iRacing itself is that we are on 5 formation laps, but the lights are off on the safety car, so this could mean it's about time to go green here. And the drivers have had all that mental and physical preparation throughout the week and throughout today to get ready for this event. Drivers may be in bed at the current moment, ready to do the night stint of the Spa race, as other drivers will be getting prepared to take over within the next couple of hours or so. But all we know is 24 hours of racing action roaring through the Ardennes Forest is about to take place here in Belgium. As we can see the drivers coming through the final corner now, and the safety car doesn't peel off, so it looks like Tristan will be going for one more formation lap.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping it's just one more. I mean, according to the messages we received in broadcast, I really hope it's not anything more than what we've already had to go through. I mean, one lap around Spa is already incredibly long. It's about 2 minutes and 15 seconds. And now slap on the slowdown of about being at 60 to 70 kilometers constantly. It really does tank in terms of time. I mean, we're sitting at about 8 minutes almost per lap here, probably about 6 minutes roughly so, which will get more enhanced detail towards when the race starts. But yeah, I mean, it's just going to have to be a little bit of time here. And I mean, this also puts a little bit more pressure on our drivers, if you have to ask me. If I was in this position, you were obviously preparing for those 1 or 2 laps to get yourself mentally prepared, like we were saying. Now that's been extended, all of that adrenaline you were about to shoot off as soon as the green lights were about to go out now has to be held back again, and you've got to repeat your entire process. Obviously the tires, you will need to follow the same heating procedures for yet another lap, and obviously following your starting procedure, you'll have to do that for the next lap. So you have to kind of shift everything up, which can really put a bit of a mental block here for all of our drivers at such an inaugural and a long race. I would say it would really bother me having to go for another lap. Obviously, there has to be specific reasons for going for another lap. But yeah, that's just unfortunately something that we have to deal with. But once we get started, there is no stopping for those 24 hours. So we'll just have to wait and see how this goes. As our drivers currently on the Kemmel Straight, you can see that the weaving is going on in the background, and a couple of other drivers with the brake dragging going on just to keep the tires nice and warm for this additional formation lap. But just before that, we will eventually be getting going here for the 24 hours of Spa at the GT Endurance Cup.
Yeah, and this is going to be really interesting, isn't it, for the drivers to make sure that their tyres and brakes keep up that nice temperature that they want for the start of this race. They're not going to want to have anything under temperature or not quite right going in towards the source and then Eau Rouge and Raidillon. They want to make sure that they get everything absolutely bang on and pinpoint accurate and correct. So the drivers have got a lot of work to do at the moment in terms of being able to just keep them tyres and brakes exactly where they want them and not backing off too much that they cool down or overdoing it so they end up too hot already. So yeah, this is going to be an interesting start to this race for sure here at the 24 hour. The Porsche, they're nearly on the grass as it was aggressively weaving its tyres up from P3. Great to see though, with the looks of things on that start grid, on the images that we're seeing, it looks like 4, maybe 5 different manufacturers. No, it is 4 different manufacturers all in that top 4 spots: Lamborghini, Ford Mustang, Porsche, BMW. So great to see the difference in the manufacturers. McLaren's not too far down the grid, neither is the Mercedes-Benz, just that is down in behind another Lamborghini and Ford Mustang. So a good split in terms of what cars are where on this grid at the moment. That's going to provide again just another bit, Tristan, of some entertaining racing.
Yeah, exactly. It's always good to see the manufacturers currently, being split up. We've seen it obviously before with the dominating grid, but it seems like the BOP here has definitely been well balanced for the GT Endurance Cup, as we've got, obviously a Lamborghini up in front. That's something you wouldn't normally see in standard iRacing procedures, as the front engines have been quite overpowered as it stands there. We have our live timings board officially coming onto your left-hand side, and we can see the full mix of car types. Obviously, up in front, the Lamborghini, second of Bravo Snow Team there in the Ford Mustang, then the Porsche, then the BMW, and then obviously it starts repeating a little bit there with a Lamborghini, a Ford, and then a Mercedes down in 7th for Rosso Esports. So I think we have another 3 formation laps after this, unfortunately, which means it's going to be a lot of time to actually see what's going on. Also, obviously, it will slightly push back how the schedule is going to work when our additional commentators will jump in. So it'll be 2 at a time that come in as we go for the event, and so that will be slightly later on in the event. And let's see. We do apparently have a bit of a shift, so it's no longer going to be 3 additional. I believe it's only going to be 1 more after this, which is good news for both us and the drivers, which means that we can get started closer to the time that things were meant to get going. The drivers will obviously have to extend it for just 1 more lap here for that nerve balance, making sure the car is ready, but most importantly, making sure that themselves and the team are ready for this 24-hour race. Absolutely zero sprint protocols coming in play here. It is full endurance protocol. The cars have to purely survive to get to the end, and that's also a big thing with endurance. There's not the whole factor of trying to make silly errors and trying to make dives that could potentially cause damage to your car, because in a sprint race, great, it's only a couple of laps, you might have to deal with that kind of damage on a GT3, but in an endurance that can heavily impact an entire stint, because the structure of it is you want to try and keep that driver out in their entire stint for the total stint duration. You do not want to pull a driver in earlier into in their total stint time, because it completely breaks the schedule set out by a team in terms of who is driving at what time. And that's obviously the ultimate objective, is just to try and keep the car 100% clean throughout the entirety of the race. And that is, you'll see as we come towards the end of this 24-hour, is going to be the main factor of who comes out at the top.
And the interesting thing as well here is, like you say, what are the drivers now thinking in terms of obviously just shuffling their times around? It's not just for the drivers to be able to take part in this race, but it's their availability at them certain times, isn't it? So the drivers have got to now possibly just double check that they're able to still do the time sets that they're in, and yeah, we could see an offset in the difference of driver caliber in the car at one given time. For those of you watching in the virtual grandstand on the timing tower on your left hand side, the white numbers, the white backgrounds of the numbers on the timing tower stand for the pro drivers, the black numbers are the pro AMs, and the red are the AM drivers out there on the grid, or the AM teams, should I say, out there on the grid. You can see a very vast variety of cars in this one at the moment, and don't worry, you're not crazy. Numbers aren't out of sequence on that timing tower. That is their positions per category and in this race at the moment. So as we can see, that is 1 to 10 at the moment with the pros. Then it's 1 and 2 for the pro-ams. 11th place is obviously there, and that we will change that throughout the broadcast throughout the night. We're going to get that one showing the overall positions, but it's just another rough idea for you guys at home in the virtual grandstand watching along to see who is where in what category of racing we've got here today. So as you can see, Lamborghinis, Fords, Porsches, BMWs, Mercedes, McLarens, Aston Martins. I believe that's a Corvette I'm seeing down in 15th place as well. I've just been told by a producer, and I'm not going to lie to you, me and Tristan are now absolutely heartbroken because there's no Audis and there's no Acuras, which is Tristan and my favourite car. And it's an absolute travesty. Tristan.
It's terrible. I'm not going to lie to you. I haven't seen an Audi out on circuit in iRacing in such a long time. You obviously got the opportunity to see an Acura out on track earlier on in the week. Unfortunately for me, I haven't seen one of the Audis in quite a while. The closest I've got is the same engine manufacturer, being the Lamborghini V10. But man, it looks nothing like what I want it to look like, dude. I'm looking for a beautiful, round, small car that is very difficult to control at times. But unfortunately, we don't get to see that. But thankfully, we are finally getting into sector number 3 here, of we believe to be the final formation lap in this 24-hour race, which means we can officially get going. The drive lounge by PBM, obviously 27th position there at the top of the timings board. At this time being, obviously it's a bit scrambled as we said, but there we do see the pace car and the rest of the cars behind. It is Team Racing Point all the way up at the top for the overalls and for the pros. And this is going to get quite interesting, especially with all the drivers behind. They're all going to be packing in. The first all the way down to 10th is going to be your pro class drivers. And they're all going to be putting immense amount of pressure in order to fight for the top spot of the throne here, especially coming into La Source and Eau Rouge. Like we mentioned, a very iconic track, and also iconically known for lots and lots of lap 1 battles, which is always good to see, but we hope that we can keep the incidents minimal in such a long race. But it looks like we are coming out of Blanchimont now, up towards the bus stop chicane, and things can finally get rolling.
Hopefully things can finally get rolling indeed. Through Blanchimont they go. We hope that we see them go double file. That would be the indication that they will go 2 by 2 into then the start of this race as we head towards the bus stop chicane. Safety car stays out. One more formation lap to go here.
One more. So raised the point of interest to me. We've obviously got our cars sitting in the pit lane. And because of how long we've been going around the track, there is going to be a significant fuel difference between the cars in the pit lane and the cars currently out on track. We've already gone around the circuit 3 times, which means that there's definitely going to have been some kind of fuel usage on all drivers out on track. Those cars sitting dormant, yes, they will have much colder tires, but also those tires will not have any kind of wear on them, nor will that fuel tank have any kind of drop in literage. So that's going to be a very interesting point when it comes to swapping around due to obviously fuel loads being finished. And I agree, this is going to be quite an interesting one. To the person who mentioned that in the live grandstand, we'll have to wait and see how this is going to turn out with the addition of the multiple formation laps and all of our drivers having to get out. This is a bit strange. I'm seeing in the mirror of this car, that man is not wearing a helmet. That is not safe, so go put a helmet on. And especially in a 24-hour. Thankfully, this is all virtual, so no kind of human damage. But still, indeed, going to be a great race as we are currently on board with one of our BMW. This is obviously the pace car, and that's why he's got no helmet on. I'm a bit silly with that regard. I should have maybe seen the steering wheel and the entire cockpit that does not look like a GT3, you know?
I don't think this is the safety car, if I'm correct, isn't it? So, yeah, I don't think the safety car is a GT3. And let's see if the steering wheel too. We just be by a producer that the safety car doesn't actually turn his steering wheel. So he might not be wearing a helmet, but must be a magician behind the wheel of the car, because here he comes in towards Lecomte. Look at that. Beautiful. Beautiful to see there from the safety car driver. Just a pair of headphones on, rocking out some nice tunes and getting through this circuit. But we are waiting then for the start of this race. And that is an interesting point that was made in the virtual grandstand there, Tristan, of the fact that the pit lane start, yes, it is the endurance pit lane, so it is the longer version of it. But that won't matter too much, because drivers, although rolling around at safety car speed, are, just burning through that little bit more fuel. So the drivers who are sat in the pits will be able to just get that lap or two more out of the fuel with that clear air at the start of the of their race when they come out the pit lane, and can just carry on their way.
Yeah, I definitely think that the pit lane starters are going to have a bit of an advantage here. And we're really just going to have to see how this is going to come down, because, again, the pit lane starters have started there for a specific reason. And quite frankly, most of the time, the reason for starting in the pit lane is due to the fact of possible contact and incidents that can happen on lap 1, especially with the large-scale grid that we've got going on here. So they'll start slightly delayed compared to the rest of the grid, because the entire grid has to be past the checkered flag, and then obviously they'll be coming down into turn 1 already by the time the final car is past the checkered flag line, and then they still have to traverse down the entire endurance pit lane. So they will be at a huge delay in terms of where they start, but with those additional laps of fuel that they will have, there will be a slight advantage in their pit stop strategies that they've got running with their teams. So a lot of talking points, and I feel like that is the most important point that we are seeing right now in the virtual grandstand, with a couple of our spectators having a chat about that. And so it's all going to come down to how big that advantage is going to be, and whether or not those drivers in the pit lane are incredibly quick, potentially, just a fast team wanting to play it cautious, or if it's maybe slightly newer drivers, maybe a new team with some amateur drivers who are maybe wanting to just take it a bit easier, then the advantage won't be as heavy. But it's going to be highly dependent on when those pit stop routines come into play. As we, again, Matthew, head into Blanchimont, maybe this time we get to go to the checkered flag without the BMW with no hands on the steering wheel.
Let's wait and see then what happens. I've just seen another comment in the chat saying, does the formation laps count as race laps? The answer to that one is no, because the race is a timed race. It's a timed 24-hour race, so it's not done by laps. The timer is yet to start for the green flag laps. The green flag, when it flies, that is when the timer starts. So until we go green here at Spa, that is when the laps will start to count. So for all these drivers lapping out there on the circuit at the moment, they're just burning through their fuel tank, and we go once again for one more formation lap. And at this point, I've got to wonder whether it might be worth just diving into the pits, filling the car up, waiting in there for the car, and then getting back out on the circuit to have an advantage over people around you. Because, yeah.
I mean, we've done what now? About 4 laps of formation. That's yeah. I mean, we're burning. I don't know how much we're exactly burning here. Obviously, due to the cars not being at full throttle at all. But I mean, I know normally we're burning at about 3.7-ish liters per lap. Possibly even more. I could be slightly wrong there. It's been a while since I've looked at a fuel calculator for Spa-Francorchamps, but it'll be slightly less with the cars not pushing in this phase. But still, they are spending that time out on track. And that fuel that fuel tank is indeed dropping each and every single lap we go. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like it's our main talking point as well. As commentators, it's also a little bit difficult for us to find things to talk about when all of our cars are not exactly racing each other out on circuit. So just trying to find anything that we can currently address before our race gets started. And then we can get to our good old play-by-plays and good old analysis of what on earth is happening in this race. But for the time being, we are in a full go slow mode as we wait for everything to obviously transgress and start as we yet again head onto the Kemmel Straight here. And Team Racing Point, they must be getting sick and tired of looking at an M2 backside, because they've just been following the entire time for the past 3 laps and just hoping to see some clean air in the next couple of laps. And I mean, I'm hoping. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, we've been thrown in the bit of the deep end here with the 5 additional laps. I'm hoping though that this will officially be the final lap, and I'm hoping that it's coming in this lap. We have been told that it's coming in this lap, so we are hoping that things are going to follow schedule and that we're not going to see any kind of addition on the pace car, and that it can finally come into race, get that Burt Mailander lunch break, and then we can continue with Team Racing Point up in front, leading the charge for the pros.
Yep, indeed. Let's see what happens then down towards No Name. They approach now with the safety car, leading the cars through. And this has got to be... I'm just seeing in the virtual grandstand, I'm just seeing a few comments come in. I heard an engine blow in the background, so I'm wondering if a car's just over-revved something and blew an engine, maybe. That would be a catastrophe before the race has even got going. We're not seeing any meatball flags that our producer can see on his screen, so obviously possibly not the case, and not sure what that is, but yes, let's hope and pray that we can get this race underway in a few moments time. It's a lovely day though. It's a lovely day here at Tristan. Sun shining, bit of cloud around. It looks beautiful out there at the moment. I don't think I've seen a weather forecast for today's race, so would love to know, because we know what Spa can be like at times, to just throw up a little bit of rain every now and again. There is the weather coming up now. That's obviously the current weather. Can't actually see the percentage chance of rain just behind the 24-hour Spa logo. So it's 30 degrees ambient, 44 degrees track, partially cloudy. Can't read what the wind and rain says, but it looks beautiful at the moment. Weather could be a thing today. If there is rain around, if there is rain potentially forecast throughout the entirety of this 24-hour event, Tristan, that's another ball game that these drivers and teams have all got to work and deal with.
Yeah, about 22% precipitation is what we've been told, and looks like absolutely zero chance of rain. 22% humidity, apologies, yeah. So zero chance of rain in this 24-hour race. So that's good news for the drivers. They get to just send it out. I do see someone in our virtual grandstand saying lights are out on the safety car. The lights have been out for the past 4 laps. We were hoping the same thing, but unfortunately, we've been baited for the past 3 laps. Another person in our virtual grandstand, I believe one of the team drivers, saying they've lost 12 liters of fuel in this formation lap process, and everyone in the pit lane has lost 0. So that 12 liters is quite a lot in the grand scheme of things, yeah, especially when trying to calculate a very precise pit strategy. But we'll have to just wait and see how this is going to work out for us. Matthew, I'm going to hope to pass this back to you now, in the hopes that you get to commentate on the beautiful entry into La Source, but it all depends on where this little M2 goes, and if it's going to dive. Thankfully it does.
Well, we're side by side. The M2 finally pulls into the pit lane, and we can now get ready to roar through the Ardennes Forest here at Spa-Francorchamps. The 24-hour of the GT Endurance Cup Europe starts now. It is green and go, and it is a brilliant start from the 113 car, the Drive Lounge by PBM, who comes... In fact, have we started? No, we haven't. Apologies, I've gone too early. Are we starting just before Eau Rouge? Oh, that's even more interesting then. I've gone too early there with the race start, Tristan. I've prematurely done it.
Yeah, I think we're at endurance race start. So our checkered flag line is coming up in just about 40 or so meters.
Should we go again? Take two. We are now green and go. You can see that it's a great start from the Lamborghini, who was on pole position, who already pulls away the Porsche, going side by side with the Ford Mustang up through Eau Rouge. There you go. Nice and cleanly done at the start of this race. Hopefully everybody filters through the same in the background as the BMW M4 trying to get a run on the P3 Ford Mustang, already coming up over Radeon. Lamborghini on the defence. BMW attacking the Ford Mustang for P3 and 4 as the Porsche looks to mount an attack in towards Le Combe for the first time, and a good start from the leaders. Hopefully the rest of the pack is filtered through nicely, but the Porsche there, Tristan, got a great launch here in the BMW, going side by side through the final part of the Le Combe complex, now having that inside line into the hairpin. One of the Porsches nearly being forced onto the grass, but a great start, and it looks like everybody's coming through the pack nicely.
Yeah, Project 91 really got a good launch there on the Bravo Snow Mustang, and just found an inside line, taking it into second. And now that Mustang is under pressure from the Delta Racing BMW. That currently sits fourth in the WRT style livery, just a bit further behind the rest of our cars, cascading down into Pouhon, and all following in a aligned format. But up in front, the Porsche has now taken the lead of the race, and he's off. Somebody's gone off. That's a huge hit for the Porsche, who just took race lead and is now off the circuit into the wall, and an entire spoiler missing off of the backside of the Project 91 car. That is so unfortunate for such a great start, going from third all the way up to first. And now it looks like we might have full course yellow, because the cars are all slowing down. That was a hard hit from the Porsche, and super unfortunate way to remove any kind of battle currently for the top spot in this race. You can see just on the inside line of Pouhon, I believe tapped on the outside by the second runner of Team Racing Point Red. And man, that is an unfortunate start for the Project 91 Porsche.
And if you're wondering, as we come back to the live screen, why everybody's going slow, full course yellow to end the first lap here at Spa-Francorchamps. After that Porsche has ended up in the wall, this will allow the Porsche to try and get back to the pits and repair the damage as quick as possible. Remembering that full course yellow gaps is needed to be kept the same. Drivers must reduce and activate their pit limiter. The pit box does stay open. So we are under full course yellow as we end the first lap here at Spa-Francorchamps then, and it was an entertaining lap one, and the leaders, with that little bit of contact there, have, as we've seen a replay of a Mercedes-Benz, who went heavy into the wall up through Eau Rouge there then, and yeah, the Team HSK Motorsport 77 Pro-Am car hit the wall pretty hard there. Oh, that's crabbing quite significantly as well, so definitely something broken on that. They'll have to return, get that one round to the pit lane if they can, without having to request a tow. This is how it happened from the build-up. So side by side at the start, does it just get a bit of a... there we go. The blue McLaren received a bit of contact in the rear at the start of the race that then ended up into the rear of the Mercedes-Benz. And that is what has happened there to the Team HSK Motorsport car. Tom Sollers on board that one. And the Pack Simsport of John Jevicki, the 55, has also had was the car that was involved in that incident as well.
I think the Merc spun again. We just saw it there on that second replay on the Kemmel Straight, just losing it from the crab walk as well. So an unfortunate start for that Mercedes team. And like we mentioned, that McLaren in the background just having a bit of a swivel tap up a Rouge, and that Mercedes just getting an unfortunate collection. And yeah, that's unfortunately how it goes. Our Project 91 team, the Porsche, I believe, would have gone into the pit lane. I don't see them anywhere in the top 30. As we, I mean, I'm looking to try and scroll down through our entire 51 car grid. I'm not seeing their name as it stands, but obviously it's due to the high amount of team names that are currently scattered across the live timing board. So they are definitely still hopefully in this race, but that damage is going to need to be definitely sorted out before they have any kind of chance of being competitive throughout the rest of it. So one good thing about this time with our car slowing down is that we do have a ticking timer on the race there. So the race is still definitely continuing. It's not like the full formation laps where the race hadn't even started. So here again, your replay of Michael Frey in the Project 91 racing team. And this is just an unfortunate one. And The end, the full course yellow is indeed ending. Apologies. At least we got to see that replay already just a couple of moments ago. So if you missed it, you are welcome to rewind. And we are officially green flag racing yet again. Team Racing Point back up on top, like they intended to be, with Bravo Snow just a bit further behind. A huge gap though from our top two from the Impact Simsport team. The Ford Mustang will now have a long train of cars. We already have a little bit of gravel being flicked up. Come on, guys. Full course yellow just ended. Don't let another one start. A couple moves in the background there. The other Project 91 loses the position to the Quadash Racing team as they are busy fighting it out for 6th and 7th position. As it currently stands, the rest of our cars all coming neatly through Sector 2 now. A lot of pressure from behind, that just for speed on the backside of Delta Racing. The Mercedes versus the BMW as they come up towards Puan Pass, no name. And through the rest of the corners they go. It looks like we've got quite a clean sequence of starters behind though after that full course yellow, and we're hoping to keep it like this now for the remainder of the session. Unfortunately, it's a 24-hour race and incidents are bound to happen when drivers start to get tired and start to push. But let's hope we can have some good clean racing for quite a bit of time.
Yeah, indeed, for quite a lot of time. Let's hope that they can happen. As there's another spinner. That's the same team there of the Porsches. That's the 191 who's off, coming through the Piff Paff chicane. Thankfully, no damage to the car, it looks like, at the moment, as they're going to try and rejoin as safely as possible. And through they go. This is what has happened to that Porsche then. So coming down on the entry to Piff Paff, Sikorsky in that one. The rear just goes light, around goes the Porsche, and that could all just be the tyres not quite up to the temperatures they want to be at the moment, or he's carried a little bit too much speed into that complex of corners. Mercedes-Benz here though on the back of the Ford Mustang. I believe this is for third place overall at the moment. The BMW M4 has pulled away. This is the Rosso Esports Mercedes-Benz, the highest running Mercedes-Benz at the moment. It's Lamborghini from Ford Mustang from Ford Mustang. So not sure where the BMW M4 has dropped away at the start of this restart. There it is, further down the pack. You can see it's tumbled down the order. It's just behind that of the Gamma Sim Racing. The Delta Racing number 12 BMW M4 was running in that second place after the Porsche had its crash on lap 1. But yeah, down the order it is now, so maybe a bad start here in this one. But either way, we get back to racing action, and this is now going to be an interesting one to see what happens here, Tristan, because now the race can start to go. Like you said, the race was ticking over as we was under that full course yellow. This is now the chance for drivers, while they're at green flag racing, to just try and now gain that momentum, get into that rhythm and find the groove.
Yeah, it's finding the groove is the important part here, especially for our first-in drivers that are currently out on track. They set the example, and obviously the flow of the entire team for the remainder of this race. They will go for it either, it's all different depending on team strategy. Sometimes teams go for single stinters. Sometimes teams go for quite long stints where one driver will take 2 or 3 hours initially, and we'll have to wait and see, obviously, what those strategies are. We'll try and have a look to see if we can find out what happened to that Delta Racing WRT style BMW in the background and why he dropped from 4th all the way down to 12th. This is Upper Rouge just behind the Mustang. So he pulls left on the backside of the Bravo Snow Mustang, and I believe this is all the way at the beginning of the race still when the Porsche was in second, so well earlier on. And so currently on the outside of the Kemmel Straight. Was there possibly contact that we were not looking? Let's have a look. I'm not seeing any kind of incident on that BMW, and looked like I'm not actually too sure then what actually happened, unless it's going to come up now. A little bit of a bump and squeeze there with the Mustang, but both drivers still pointing straight. Maybe coming up to No Name, there was a potential bit of contact. He did run wide there, and that caused him to lose the position to the Mustang, and then obviously pressure from behind from that Lamborghini driver, but still nothing that would have sent him down multiple positions. There's obviously the replay coming back all the way further on, which then shows him quite a bit significant amount down. He's now fighting out with the Lamborghini. But yeah, it's a bit odd.
There we go.
There it is. We finally found it. So just coming into sector number 3, getting forced wide by that BMW driver. And I believe that's the Team Point Racing, the guys who currently sit up in P1, and just gets knocked into the right-hand side. A little bit of netcode coming in from iRacing. He does avoid the barrier, though, which is super important, Matthew. And then even contact behind him as one of the Porsches smack into another Porsche coming into sector number 3. So lots of things that bounced around in that just before that full course yellow that we didn't quite get to see. And that's obviously shaped how things are currently looking within the first 10 minutes of this race.
Yeah, it has indeed, but it's the Team Racing Point number 19 Lamborghini leader who is the one out front in this race at this moment in time. 2 seconds clear of the Bravo Snow Ford Mustang. There you can see then the Impact Sim Sport Ford Mustang and the Rosso Esports Mercedes-Benz is your top 4. The Team Racing Point number 16 car is the Lamborghini in P5. So Team Racing Point having a good day so far out there on the circuit at the moment, and they are trying to push on in this race as much as they possibly can. Right then, 23 hours, 49 minutes remaining on the clock. It's been an eventful start to the Spa 24 hour. As I head down towards the the Pouhon corner now, you can see once again, if you are just joining the broadcast, for those watching, the black numbers on the timing tower is Pro-Ams, the white numbers are the pros, and the red numbers are the AM drivers. So you are not to get confused as the race goes on throughout the entire evening here tonight. Bit of a battle further down the order here then, and this is between one of the Porsche cars at the moment, just defending that, covering that inside line, comes back across. The Gamma Sim Racing, second place in that Pro-Am category, the 235 makes its way through. So a good move there from the Mercedes-Benz, had to do it the hard way, but got itself up yet another position over the number 33 DCS Racing Pro driver in that Porsche, and has pulled quite a comfortable gap over the Porsche at the moment. And I was just wondering, sorry, did I just notice the Porsche there was missing its front bumper? So maybe an indication as to that Porsche just struggling in this one at the moment. This is P10 at the moment, the number 48 McLaren on the back of one of the AM drivers in the Mercedes-Benz just ahead of it. Just for speed is the AM driver just ahead, and the McLaren of Ronin just trying to work its way onto the rear of that Mercedes-Benz. Doing a fantastic job of it so far, just being nice and patient. And obviously this is the beautiful thing, this isn't obviously a multi-class race, this is a multi-category, if you will, with the pros, the AMs and the Pro-Am teams out there. So you can always find sometimes a difference in pace levels per category, and it's about being patient throughout this 24-hour event, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely so. I mean, talking about those classes though, currently our AM classes are doing significantly better than the Pro-Ams, which is quite funny to see. McLaren coming out of the pit lane there. Sorry, I thought he completely missed the Rouge. That's one of the McLarens who took significant damage at the start of this race, coming up a Rouge. He's coming out onto the circuit now. But we currently have 7th position, the number 4 of Delta Racing. He leads the AM class and well ahead of any other Pro-Am driver. Our first Pro-Am driver down in 15th, which is Paul Botting. And obviously that's Paul Botting Motorsports. Currently Joseph Okopian in the car, the 007. And all the way down in 15th. So 3 AM class cars, which is ahead of that one Pro-Am car. He does currently lead the Pro-Am division. So quite interesting to see those 3 AM drivers currently beating out any of the Pro-Am drivers for the current time being. Again, you can see it if you've just joined the Virtual Grandstand live stream being on YouTube. The number borders, again, white being your pros, red being your AMs, and then black being your Pro-Am drivers, who will all be continuously progressing around this track for another 23 hours and 47 minutes. So a lot of time, though, for our drivers to make important decisions here. And like we've already mentioned, the pit stop strategies and the stint strategies, which is something that is highly spoken about during endurance racing, is going to be that important factor of whether or when or not to obviously put in your new drivers. I believe there was a cap on drivers that were allowed for this event. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was only 4 drivers per team allowed in this 24 hours. So, I mean, I've seen 24s run with 6 guys per team, but we've got the limit here, obviously, with 4 drivers per team. So splitting that across the 24, that's obviously about around 6 hours that each of our drivers have to do in that 24-hour stint. So a lot of time for our drivers, each individual driver a part of a team, to really keep themselves consistent here and ensure that they bring their A game to the team. It is a huge team sport, endurance racing, and you have to put a lot of trust in your teammates when they get in that car, that they can bring it back to the pit lane for the next driver to jump in, and hopefully that the car is completely unscathed and ready to go for another full stint of racing. Currently on board with the Velch Competitions car, David DeMarco, he currently holds P4 in that car, the down also in 6th position. That's also in class, I believe. So that's down currently 25th overall for Rusty Spatulas over Kal Pavanian, but in 6th position for the Pro-Am class. And safety car has, I believe, been called out for an incident out on track, which is going to throw a bit of a curveball here, Matthew.
Yeah, indeed it is. So once again, then the safety car will appear out. Oh, sorry, for the second time, the race will be delayed here in this race due to the fact the safety car is about to be called onto the circuit. And is this why? This is the Nicholas Gowin Ferrari then, just coming in towards Blanchimont. Is it what is about to happen ahead? Is something there going to indicate a safety car? Gowin catches... Oh, no, big snap. Oh, and that'll be why the safety car is being deployed. And that was a huge snap through Blanchimont there for the Gowin Racing. Nicholas Gowin driving that machine. Look, huge snap, just got on the curb. Big tank slapper, upside down into the wall. The car just dug into the gravel a little bit. And that is in on the left-hand side of the racetrack, thankfully off the racing line to where the drivers are. This is on board, and an absolutely huge moment there for Nicholas. Into the gravel, digs in, upside down, and slides back onto the circuit. And there is no wonder that the safety car has been called here, Tristan. That is a big one.
Yeah, I've seen I've seen it before where the safety car gets called out for a couple of unlogical reasons, but I think this is far from unlogical. This is quite a serious incident. And in real life, this would imply could potentially even imply something along the lines of some kind of red flag, especially with a huge incident coming from that driver, Nicholas Gowin, just taking a little bit too much inside curbing. And we spoke about the dangers of the curbs here at Spa-Francorchamps and just taking a little bit too much of the inside of Blanchimont, and that was enough for that car to just over-rotate a little bit too much. He really did try his best to catch it, but at those speeds on a left-hand hook, it's very difficult to try and catch that car and point it in the correct direction again. So I'm not even sure if that car is going to be entirely repairable. He's going to be sitting in the pit lane for quite some time with damage if he is going to try and get it repaired. But so we are indeed under safety car conditions. I'm not too sure if the safety car has been placed out in front as of yet. I do still see our Team Racing Point car, the number 19 Lamborghini. He still sits out in front, and so possibly still playing the catch-up game for the time being with that pace car out on track to place the cars back in the same condition that they were at the beginning of this race. And this is how it always goes with endurance racing. You can never plan how the race is going to go. And, I don't think our drivers were expecting that within the 15 minutes we'd be sitting around behind a safety car already. I mean, the full course yellows make sense, but an entire safety car so early on is quite unfortunate in this event. Still a huge amount of time to go by, 23 hours and 43 minutes. And after the safety car, the drivers will go back into those racing formats and hopefully put their heads back down and try and race it out for the remainder of it to try and render as much points in this Endurance Cup.
Yeah, interesting to see then. So there is no safety car yet backing up the pack. So I wonder if we have gone to a virtual safety car for the time being. No, there is no virtual safety car in this series. So, maybe we're just under full course yellow at the moment, which Race Control have decided to fly the flag for in this one so far. So, let's wait and see what happens. But at the moment in time, it's been a crazy start. We're not even 20 minutes into the start of this race. We've done multiple formation laps, and we're under 2 full course yellows here. And that was just a huge impact, really big impact. And hopefully the drivers who have had damages or have had to pit early on are back out in this race, because we don't want to be seeing drivers and teams retiring within that first 20 minutes when there's still so long to go and still so much to play for. That's the thing with the 24-hour race, isn't it, Tristan? There is everything to play for. No matter what dramas you can have on the opening laps of the race, you're never out of it, are you really?
No, never out of it, indeed. It's even with the kind of damage we saw on that Ferrari earlier on, there is still obviously the possibility of this, with it being a simulator, that you can indeed get that car repaired. He is going to be spending a lot of time in the pit lane, but quite frankly, he's got the time right now with it being a safety car condition and, possibly even more coming on in the future of this race, with it having such a long duration left to go. And so things can still be repaired. You can still mend mistakes and try and bring things back. I mean, an incident like that in real life that we saw with Ferrari, that would be pretty much a DNF for that team, because in real life, there is no chance you could possibly bring a car back like that within the 24-hour time frame. It would essentially be an entirely full rebuild, which is as talented as mechanics get, especially in GT and GT Endurance. It's just not enough time to try and get a full car built to spec and out back on track. But like we say again, this is virtual. This is all done with sim racing. and we don't have to pay for the petrol, which is great because that stuff is expensive
Yeah.
in real life. But there's still the possibility of repairs getting done, which is always a good factor for teams to continue to push. I know that it's a long way to go, and often we have it where guys have an incident towards the beginning side of things, and then they just decide to call it quits because, what the heck, there's still such a long time left to go. We are so far off the pack, there's no way we're going to catch up. But with it being so long, there is a lot of opportunity for catch up. There's a lot of opportunity for the events of the race to happen, and trust me, there is still more that's going to happen in this race.
Yeah, there is. There's a lot more that's going to happen in this race, so don't go anywhere because it's going to be an absolutely action-packed day of racing for sure here at Spa-Francorchamps throughout today's race. It's going to be an interesting one to see what will happen throughout the course of today in what has already been a dramatic start to this race, to this 24-hour event as we go on through the day here. Like we said, 21 minutes in, and if you're just wondering who will be joining us in the commentary box tonight, so you got myself and Tristan. Ron will be with you, with myself a little later on, while Howie then goes and takes a break. Our producer, that we'll be bringing in Morgan to do the producing then, with myself and Ron. I'm with you for 6 hours, and then that is me done for this event. Tristan will be then taking over the play-by-play from myself. He'll be joined by Ron for an hour, and then we'll be with the fantastic Lorenzo for a few hours, while Ahmet is doing the producing all the way through the night. Ron will be back as play-by-play through the night as well, before Tristan and Jim take over in the morning. With Tristan and Lorenzo, Jeremy and Lorenzo, and Jeremy and Tristan. Tristan, you're a busy man this weekend, Tristan.
Yeah, no, we're fully packed for this one. I think I'm on for 12 1-hour stints, so that's a total of 12 hours out on track. 50% of the time you'll be hearing my voice, and it's a good thing because it's a good sounding voice. And I'm kidding, no self-gloating here. In this 24-hour race, the good voice is Matthew, and he's only here for 6 hours, which is unfortunate, man. That's only 33% of the time. Come on, Matthew, you could have 25% of the time only. So you could have tried to push for more, but no, I know there's it's a long event. There's a lot of time to play for in it as well.
I was meant to be doing more, but sadly the partner's at work, so I'm stuck with the kids tomorrow morning, so I couldn't do anything until after midday, unfortunately. But no, the Dream Team are with you right now, and that's the most important thing. If you're wondering why I say the Dream Team, me and Tristan work on a few other things outside of this, and it's just a pleasure to work with Tristan. Such a good guy in the box to have with you. He's great company as well. I'm actually at the moment, Tristan, running a second event. So actually, I've got another event that I've got to keep an eye on to make sure that server is running okay whilst I'm doing the commentary at the moment, because no one else was available to do that. So I'm multitasking at this moment in time. So yeah, it's a busy old weekend, and of course we've got so much happening in the real world this weekend. So there's a lot of things happening. Whether you're a World Superbike fan, I know they're down at Donington Park, my home circuit this weekend. We've obviously got the World Cup on at the moment. Wimbledon in the tennis is on. We've got the Nations Championship in the rugby that's on over the weekend as well. So a lot of sporting events, but this is the key one that you need to keep your eyes on throughout this 24 hours, because this is where the action is going to be the best, I have a feeling, as this event rolls through the entirety of this night. Now, where are we? Safety car is now out on the circuit, as we know, and we'll just wait for the safety car to go back into the pit. So we've seen more of the safety car than we've seen more of racing laps at the moment. I think that's the thing to take away from this first, nearly coming up to an hour of broadcasting.
Yeah, I mean, half an hour almost of this race, but obviously we've been live just up until just before basically at the end of qualifying. So we've been here for a while. Obviously, remember, we were out for 5 formation laps, which also took a bit of time. It's funny, you were talking about the mix of sports just before this, which also we got called on slightly earlier, man. I was sitting and enjoying watching South Africa giving Scotland a bit of a thrash in the Nations Cup. But anyways, we came back to the racing, which is the important part of it. The GT Endurance Cup, the Europeans take it to 24 hours of Spa. And if you're just joining us now, we're under safety car conditions for the time being. And unfortunately, coming to Blanchimont, I'm still seeing the siren, the lights on top of the pace car, indeed still flashing beautifully and bright, which means we should still be seeing one additional lap. And I believe that is what our producer also just said, that we will still have an additional lap in the safety car conditions. So still another time for our drivers to go around. Remember that this is not only burning fuel, that need to consistently keep those tires warm. In normal racing conditions, it's very easy to keep the tires warm. Just drive the car and it'll basically do the race, because you're putting so much weight and speed on those tires that they essentially do their job for you. But in a slower condition like this, the tires are really not feeling any kind of pressure. They're built to really push these cars to the limit and ensure for maximum top speed and duration. And unfortunately, as the time goes, they are just sitting dormant behind a pace car, behind that M2 bumper. And if Team Racing Point wasn't annoyed at the start of seeing that bumper, unfortunately, they might be seeing it a couple of times, because they are yet again seeing it behind. The only good part about this is that we are letting our drivers obviously compact a little bit more, which is going to allow for a little bit more racing opportunity come at the end of the safety car. So that is the one good side of a safety car, but obviously we are still wasting a lot of time just sitting behind the car, waiting to eventually go green again.
I'm sure that if you was the leading Lamborghini driver out there at the moment, you'd rather this be the last half an hour of the race with this amount of safety car interruptions, so that you can just try and get towards the end to win it instead of it being the first. But it's going to be an interesting one to see how this race is going to go on and develop in it. We've obviously got a good variety of cars, as you can see on our timing tower as we go through today. So yeah, a lot to currently go through, a lot to keep our eyes on, and a lot to do throughout the entirety of this event. So don't go anywhere throughout it. It's going to be absolutely crucial to see this racing unfold as we get towards the final few hours of racing here in the GT Endurance Cup 24 Hours of Spa. Believe if we got sort of coming up in this GT Cup as well. I believe there's some other races coming later in the year. Yes, we have got, there's a calendar there, look. So we've got Monza coming up on the 1st of August. That is round 3 of the season, before we head to the Nürburgring on the 22nd of August, and Portimao for the 5th and final race on the 3rd of October. Now, that's going to make for an interesting race for sure. Is the waiting, and this is more of a question for my producer, is the waiting room for interviews, Howie? Who I can't hear, that's because I've done... Okay, because I'm wondering if we drag Ethan Davis maybe into the chat for a little bit of a chat, but now that's race control, right? Okay. Oh, there's 2, right? Okay, yeah, I see the 2. Thank you very much. Right, so we'll possibly get some interviews throughout the night as well from teams and drivers alike. So if teams are listening to this channel and want to come into for an interview, come into the waiting room just below the broadcast booth, we can get a chat, and we'll obviously put a message out for interview requests if we want to speak to some of the drivers in that one as well. So let's see what will happen in this race when we get it back underway. Safety car lights are still on, and yeah, not a lot really, bar a few incidents, and that big incident for the Ferrari all on its own. Not really, Tristan, a lot to mention at the moment about the action so far, because there's been not a lot of it.
Yeah, it's been slightly intermittent towards the start of it. We've seen maybe 1 or 2 good overtakes, but the rest of the time it's kind of just been dormant, sitting for the drivers behind, as they all are kind of just in the same boat, just waiting for things to get back going. And unfortunately, like we say again, we are heading back up to Blanchimont, and the lights on that safety car are still on, which means that we should still be going for yet another lap here, which is again going to be delaying the drivers yet again in terms of pit strategy and also fuel burn. And don't forget, those drivers who started from the pit lane are also, I mean, obviously they're going to be burning fuel right now, but they still will have slightly better tank capacity compared to the rest of our drivers out on grid. Yeah, there's also not too much of a point currently of going through our grid, because it's pretty much the same as what it was towards the start of it. Obviously, our Project 91 cars have both dropped off drastically. The 191 currently sitting down in 17th position, and then our other Project 91 car, he, I believe, sits all the way down in 43rd position. Yeah, so Michael Frey is back out on track, which is great to see. So he's gotten the car repaired, but over a lap behind everybody else. I'm not too sure if he was allowed to unlap during safety car conditions. I don't think he was. And so he still sits a lap behind from what I do see on our timings board, which is really unfortunate for him. And obviously with our Delta Racing drivers as well, they haven't had the best of starts that we would have hoped for. I mean, obviously our AM driver, that being the number 1 car. He's, sorry, not number 1 car, number 4 car has also really had a good turn of events, being the leader of the AM class as it stands, 7th overall, which is a great positioning for himself and also his team as we will obviously head through the remainder of this race. But we are officially about to tick into halfway through this stint. Obviously a stint referring to 1 hour, so we're just about to hit the halfway mark of this stint of the race, which obviously takes us closer to a switch up of both drivers, commentators and producers throughout this 24-hour event. And it's always nice to have a bit of a switch up in terms of everything. I mean, the driving styles change out on track. Also, the talking and commentating styles will also drive. So will the camera work and switching. It all kind of switches around throughout this 24-hour event, which just gives a little bit of a breath of fresh air throughout the entirety of the racing. But yeah, for the time being, things still sit pretty much fixated with Team Racing Point, the number 19 sitting well up in P1, and then obviously those 2 Ford Mustangs will be wanting to get the most ideal launch out of it coming into the exit. Apex Predator Racing, they sit in that Mercedes. No, apologies, that's incorrectly placed. That's Rosso Esports, apologies, in 4th currently in the Mercedes. So I have a feeling that those top 4 are really going to put pressure on each other coming out of the safety car. Well, it's what I'm hoping. Obviously, we've also got the other Team Racing Point red team. They sit in 5th position. So the other Lamborghini from the driver up in P1. And so they'll be wanting to try and work up towards their leading teammates and potentially try and get a bit of a coalition going to block out the rest and keep the 2 Lamborghinis up at the forefront of this grid. But only time is going to tell, and hopefully we do see some lights going out on the top of that BMW M2. That is something I think everyone in mutual agreement can hope for, is that we get the safety car back in where it belongs, turn the car off and let the GT3s do the work out on track.
Yeah, and the most frustrating thing for the drivers at the moment, Tristan, I don't know if you'll agree with me, is the fact that this race has been so stop-start at the moment that they can't get into that rhythm, they can't get into that nice groove to find a bit of momentum and a bit of form to carry this race on to where it needs to be, because it has been so stop-starty. The Lamborghini leader of Team Racing Point lost the lead at the beginning to the Porsche, then they had their incident. Then it seemed to pull away from the 2 Ford Mustangs, but it's been neutralised once again. So very frustrating for teams that are doing rather well and are trying to just get into a nice flow.
Yeah, exactly like you say. There's not much flow that can go on when you aren't exactly racing. So yeah, the drivers all kind of just playing the situation exactly as they see it. And so just taking it as it comes behind that safety car. And I'm just keeping my eyes glued on that safety car because I'm still not seeing lights out, which is starting to worry me that we're going to spend a 3rd lap on a single car incident, which worries me that if a future incident comes by with multiple cars, that we will have an even longer safety car. And that's what I'm a little bit worried for in the future of this race. And because producer just tells us that it doesn't really scale with cars, which is a good thing because So yeah, I mean the towing obviously in iRacing will just allow for the cars to get away. So that is one good thing. And now I'm seeing that lapped cars are being allowed to go past the safety car. So it looks like we are going to be spending yet another lap. But there is one good side of this, is that our drivers who didn't have the greatest of starts are going to get to go around the pace car and retry. There we see the Project 91 Porsche. He's coming around the outside of all of our dormant cars, and he's going to come past the pace car, coming up into the bus stop chicane, and he will now go all the way to the backside of the grid, but he will no longer be a lap down. So this is sweet redemption for the drivers who did not have a good start to this race, and I'm glad that they are getting passed through. Otherwise, they would obviously be sitting well behind the rest of this pack, even after a full format safety car that we've been seeing for the past 3 laps. So that's why we're seeing the safety car still staying out for yet another lap, because it looks like they've been given the go-ahead to jump the rest of the grid. You can see there's quite a lot of cars who have not had the greatest of starts here and are being allowed the pass through. Obviously, Michael Frey will be a part of that pack, and I believe that we will see him come past in that Project 91 Porsche, who was contesting for first, and then obviously had a bit of an incident with the Team Racing Point Lamborghini, which knocked him completely out of the top fight. Now you'll have a bit of a chance, obviously at the backside of the grid, but still try and have a bit of a fight. We'll try and cue a couple of replays just to obviously have a look at what's gone on so far in the past half an hour, the first part of this race, just to provide you guys with a little bit of entertainment while we still wait for our lapped cars to do some overtakes.
Yep, like you say, it's brilliant for the lap drivers now to get back onto the lead lap of this race at the moment, which is absolutely fantastic because it just brings them back into this race. Even though it's still so early on, it brings them back overall into this race. This is what happened on the opening lap of the race, and this was Michael Froy. Definitely recognise that name from somewhere. The Project 91 racing team, the Swiss driver, going up the inside through Pouhon, just understeers a little wide into the side of the Lamborghini, bang, hard into the wall. Big rear end damage that had to get him back to the pit lane. And for Michael there, lengthy repairs it would have been, so put him a lap or two down, and has now been able to unlap himself that one time, which is great for him because it means he's pretty much back into contention here already in this race early doors. And yeah, it was a huge hit, obviously, with the full course yellow coming out. This is the Delta Racing BMW that we see coming through Pouhon. Watch for the Lamborghini getting a good run on the exit of Pouhon here, almost being tapped by the Rosso Esports Mercedes. Gets to the outside line. They've just passed that of Michael Fry to the outside of Piff Path. Holds it nice and easy. Now, there is a little bit of a netcode piece of contact there. You just see the netcode. They never actually touched to the physical eye, but yeah, the netcode issues there comes in, and that's what put the Delta Racing of Douglas Souza down the order, who got a good start as well in this race, the same as Michael Fry. It was a fantastic start from him, and of course then the full course yellow came out. This was then the big one that has brought out the current safety car. Nicholas Gowan in the Gowan Racing Ferrari gets a big tank slapper. Car digs into the gravel, upside down into the wall hard, tyre loose, bumper off. Just absolutely chaos from the Gowan Racing car there. Real big impact. This is further on as well. DSP Esports Racing Team, the 63. Oh, sorry, that was after the incident. This is the Gowan Racing car once again, and look at the snap. Digs in hard into the wall, so hard that it almost catapults it back across the circuit into the wall on the other side. And Tristan, we've worked together for a while now, and we've seen a few big incidences over that time. I don't recall seeing one quite that significant.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a couple of capsizes that have happened, mainly with some Porsches in the snow. Not the snow, not snow. Sorry, the sand. A couple of Porsches in the sand and the gravel traps that we've seen. I remember seeing that at Suzuka one time with one of the Porsches going in a bit upside down, and that's not the side of the car that you want to be touching in the floor. But I do definitely agree with you. That's one of the bigger incidents I've seen, especially at Blanchimont being such a fast left-hand hook chicane. Not chicane, apologies, corner, and just making a small error like that at that drastic amount of speed is going to do a bit too much that you can really control. And obviously that is what happened to the Ferrari driver, just not able to actually control the direction of the car and left to be stranded upside down. Here's the unfortunate news yet again. We are coming up to bus stop, and the lights on that safety car are still flashing bright. So we are going to be going around for yet another lap, but here is to hoping that this will be the final lap. It's all that we can hope for. Unfortunately, there's no exact telling that we can get when that pace car is going to come in, but we just kind of have to wait and hope that it is eventually going to come in. And wait and see. I believe we have now heard from our producer that this is the official last lap of the pace car, which is excellent news. So it's not the race. Apologies. I mean of this of this specific incident, and we were hoping that it would be the last of this race, right? That would be great, but unfortunately, I'm not very optimistic about that being the last. I really do hope it's the last. I'm okay with the full course yellows because they don't last long. You know, it's maybe just under a lap or so that we run under full course yellows. But man, spending 4 cars under full course yellow for one car that's stranded in Blanchimont, I mean, in real life that would be sorted in under a lap. So spending four laps out is quite a drastic experiment that we had to run here for this 24-hour, and obviously it's wasted a lot of time in the first stint. And if the strategy for these teams are to swap out their first driver moving on to their second, well, this first driver hasn't really had the stint that he would have wanted, because they will have pretty much spent the entire of it either behind formation lap or behind the pace car in a safety car, or in full course yellows. So it's unfortunately just one of those things when it comes to sim racing, especially in endurance racing, that first stint can either go extremely well, or it can be extremely boring and you sit and wait the entire stint, which has been the main playing card at this point in time for the Spa 24-hour.
Yep, it has, and like you say, that's the way endurance racing works, isn't it? It can sometimes play in your favour. We can get some good green flag action, or it can be a little bit chaotic. And we said it'd be chaotic at the start of the race, and by God, was it. We are 40 minutes in since the green flag has flown here, so we are 40 minutes closer to the checkered flag in this race, but still 23 hours and 20 minutes to go in this one. So still a lot of action coming your way throughout the entirety of this race that will be bringing you every single part live. Just make sure that you keep up to date on the YouTube stream to just make sure that when the stream changes over to part 2, part 3, part 4, and I believe part 5, you are moving over to them parts to keep your eyes on them as well in what has been a dramatic, chaotic opening 40 minutes here in this race. And the thing now, Tristan, is as well, this throws strategy out the window, doesn't it? Because all the fuel that the cars would have been saving under the full course yellow, under this big safety car lap, especially for the drivers starting from the pit lane, this now delays when the first round of pit stops will be, which is roughly around an hour for a GT3 car, maybe just a little bit over. This delays that, and this is going to go put them to go longer in the stint. So provided we was green flag from when the safety car goes in till the very, very end, this has really altered people's strategies about when they have to pit and how much fuel they're going to have to put in at the very end of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. Apologies about that. We might be seeing a couple of splash and dashes or just change in general to the pit stops. Some drivers might even opt to doing one additional stint with obviously slightly shorter fueling amounts to try and compensate for this odd delay that we've had at the beginning of the race. But the good news is, Matthew, is that we finally have a pace car who's decided to flip the switch, and those lights have been off for the entirety of this lap. And so they will be coming in at the end of it, which means we finally get to see a pull up towards a Rouge yet again, which is going to be great to see for the, I believe this will be the third time that we get to see the pull up to a Rouge, as we've been waiting, hopefully, to get out of these conditions. All of our drivers will be doing their final little bit of brake dragging and making sure that those cars are heavily warmed up and ready to go for the restart. Obviously, basically half of a fuel tank as it stands in this race, so a little bit easier on the pull-off for most of our drivers here, but they're going to have to try and reset, get back in the mindset that they originally had to position themselves into, and get themselves race ready and going for it. And so we will be heading into bus stop, remembering that the restart isn't at the straight before La Source, and I believe we'll be down towards the Rouge, as we do see our pace car is officially in, and so our drivers doing their final wind-ups before we head to green flag racing. And I've never been more excited for green flag racing, I've got to say to you, Matthew. It's been a while, and we get to go.
Indeed it is. So we just await now for that of the green flag 2 flyers. They'll come through La Source all in single file, and at the moment you just seen a few drivers there just going side by side, I think expecting the green flag to have flown at the checkered flag line. That has not been the case. The drivers will have to make sure they've not overtaken each other as they come through La Source. We'll wait for that green flag to drop here as they come down towards El Rouge at the moment. It's going to be where the race started, and we are back to green flag racing here at Spa-Francorchamps for the 24-hour race. Just over 23 hours left to go as they all approach to El Rouge once again. For, like Tristan said, the third of the flying laps at the moment, as this is the Delta Racing number 4 car, hassling the back of the Quadash Racing BMW just ahead of it. So the AM driver really trying to mix it with the pros. There goes Rosso Esports as well, pulling out to have a look on a move on that Ford Mustang of Impact SimSport, and gets the move done. So Quadash moving up into third place at this moment in time. What a good manoeuvre from the Mercedes-Benz, and there's been movers and shakers up and down the field, I do believe, as well, as we all look to be through nice and cleanly. There's one of the Project 91 Porsches in the background having a little look down in towards the hairpin corner on the inside line. Looked like it got the move done. I'm just waiting to see. Yes, it did. So Project 91 move up into 40 seconds. Sorry, they're in 4th second. That'll be the other one that's moved up a position further up the order. But Tristan, what a great start to this race, and a great start, to the resumption of this race.